Have you ever experienced a blissful state of being that you just can't seem to recreate? Do you feel like your spiritual journey is going backwards, perhaps because your mind is creating so much emotional up and down in the system? And do you perhaps struggle to find a solid foundation within yourself, so you're feeling lost and confused and unsure of who you are? Well, if so, you should keep watching this video until the end. See, spiritual growth is not about chasing after experiences, but rather a tangible and felt growing in your prana. Prana is your energy and strength as a being. However, many of us get caught up in the pursuit of experiences or attracting things in the outside world and end up feeling frustrated when we can't recreate the experiences or we can't get what we want. We also seem to struggle with our emotional states, feeling like perhaps we're going backwards instead of forwards. Finally, we lack that solid foundation within ourselves because our foundation, if we're honest with ourselves, is firmly placed in the mind, in our identity, which is constantly changing and moving because that's the nature of the mind, and therefore requires us to seek validation outside of ourselves because we don't have that internal validation system that is our being. So how do we measure our spiritual progress then? And is it in our experiences or is it deeper than that? Hi, I'm Jamie and I run the Yogic Tradition, which is a school for higher education and spiritual development. And we've helped hundreds of aspirants navigate the confusion and the tough challenges of a spiritual awakening by giving them the proven structure and practices to make their awakening a joy instead of a fight. And if you want to see exactly how we do that, you can watch our free training series down below. See, perhaps the measure of our spiritual growth could be how much of a fully fledged life we've become. And the way you would measure that would be through your energy. So we can't stick you with prongs and measure your energetic frequency, but a teacher would have the ability to feel into you. It would be intuited in that way. Typically though, it was stated that there are 3 types of yogis. There's a Munday yogi. Now this is somebody who's tasted a little bit of consciousness, a little bit of the ultimate experience of life inside of them, but they just can't hold on to it. This person has to constantly remind themselves to come back to himself as he gets whisked away by the mind a lot. No doubt a higher dimension of consciousness has opened up inside of this guy, but he doesn't stay there, and it's still a challenge for him to stay there, and he's constantly fighting the mind. The second type of yogi is a Madhyama yogi, and this translates from Sanskrit to mean sort of medium, like a medium yogi. So this is someone who is constantly in access to that higher state of reality within, but is not a fully integrated human. He totally neglects his physical body, you know, and he neglects his outward duties and responsibilities in life. And this is a really unbalanced way to live in the physical existence. So this is a medium yogi. Then finally we have Uttama yogis, and this is someone who is always in connection with the ultimate reality. He's living his life fully, engaging in outward reaching projects, and perhaps to such a degree that you wouldn't even know he was a yogi at all, which is the perfect segue for us to tell you about our new app, Undercover Yogi. This has free live streams, free sadhana, free yoga, and a free community for you to engage with, full of like-minded souls, or what we would call in the yogic tradition a sangha, and you can access that for free down below. So perhaps the barometer for spiritual growth is more about what has dropped away from you and how integrated you are into this physical life. See, some things that a teacher will be using as a barometer are perhaps as follows. They'd be feeling into you and saying, how much of the separate identity, the separate me, is there still in you? Hopefully that doesn't sound confusing. They'd be feeling into, perhaps, have you transitioned from thinking to feeling yet? Or are you still confused by the mind and perhaps having a thinking awakening to some degree? Are you still maybe plagued with a continuous stream of thoughts all day, every day, that we're still identifying with? And all of these things are fine. It's just a barometer to see, to feel into you and kind of get a gist of where you're at and what you might need in your life to be able to grow. How seriously, maybe, are you taking yourself? And this is something that I use a little bit because I'm intrigued, And most importantly, probably, have you developed any humility yet? And maybe also, are you chasing after spiritual experiences to get high spiritually? Or have you begun the deeper work to let go of your attachments and mature into embodying and living in alignment with what you say that you've learned? See, getting high spiritually is the pursuit of experiences that gives us a temporary sense of connection and euphoria to the larger existence. But spiritual maturation, on the other hand, is a deepening of our understanding and our connection with the universe. It's like the difference between waking up and growing up. Like, am I embodying this stuff that I say that I've learned? And if I'm not, then I haven't really learnt it. Do you see? So as we mature, we begin to understand that perhaps our connection to life is not dependent on any external factors or any experiences that we've had, because it's always going to bring me back to my stillness, my wholeness, my completeness. It's all fine, mind. You can do what you like. This is your life and you're free to live it the way that you want. But for real spiritual maturity, we do just have to go that little bit deeper than surface level experiences like a Kundalini awakening or something like that. Something else we can get caught up in, though, as we mentioned earlier, is rejecting our physical nature, rejecting the physical body. When we're doing this means we're not really a fully fledged life operating on all dimensions of ourself. In fact, it's probably the opposite of that. We're only really functioning on our spiritual dimension, but spiritual growth happens because of the body, not in spite of it. This is why yoga, or the physical asanas and the practices, the pranayamas that we do, are so important. We use the body to imbibe a wonderful state of being inside, which sets us free from all of our conditions in the mind. We must learn to be grounded in our physical existence too, isn't it? While still being connected to the ultimate. This is the true measure, perhaps, of any spiritual growth at the end of the day. It's not in the experiences we have, although they can be important catalysts for our growth. It's not the determinant of how mature we are. But it's also about the level of connection we have with the divine within, So how am I operating in the physical plane, and how am I operating in the spiritual plane, if you want to speak like this? When we're able to fully embrace ourselves, including our physical existence, and connect deeply with the universe within, or the divine within, then we know that we've grown spiritually. And if you're wanting to know more on this subject matter, then you're going to want to know the difference between states and stages in your awakening path. And we made a video here to clear all of that up.